I'm going to teach you guys something, and you're going to really thank me for it. I'm going to talk to you about the synodic cycle of Mars as he joins the sun every 2 years in a different sign, and how this cycle changes everything. It changes the direction you want to go in your life, the kinds of decisions and actions you will take. And it's an exciting cycle because it's kind of rare. In fact, Mars joining the sun in the sign of Capricorn last happened in 1993. Before that, 1979. Before that, 1947. Won't happen again, by the way, until 2072, or 46 more years. So it's an exciting time to be alive, to go through this rebirth of Mars in Capricorn. And he's doing the rebirth on the 9th of January, 2026. And we're going to get ahead of this one because it's not about the 9th of January. It's about the 2 years that follows the 9th of January. I'm giving you a 2-year prediction, and only once every 2 years does Mars set up a new story for us. The last reset button with the sun was in Scorpio. I'll address that when I get to the rest of the reading with you. But you want to understand the basic idea of how powerful this actually is. And there's another part of Mars's synodic cycle. After he meets with the sun and gets born again as an old Mars becoming brand new and fresh, he rises into the sky in another sign. In this case, it will be March the 17th, St. Patrick's Day, in the sign of Pisces. And that's where you will rise to new visible success in your life as well. However, this video would be way too long if I covered both the rise of Mars in March of 2026 and the death of Mars in Capricorn in January. So today's video, we're just covering his death and rebirth cycle, not his actual visible rise. So stay tuned for that video. If you like this kind of predictive content that helps you time your best life, then please like and subscribe and hit my notification bell. If you have yet to purchase your Time Your Best 2026 All Signs Bundle, that's possibly something you can share with friends and family. It's a PDF with links to the videos that are downloadable, audio and video format, watchable on my hidden YouTube, unlisted links with timestamps, plus a PDF guidebook for the entire year ahead. That is available for only $55 until the end of December. That's 12 videos, 2+ hours each, and a lot of guidance for friends, family, and also you. Yes, this is for your sun, your moon, or your rising. And if you don't want to buy the whole bundle, then just buy your own sign for $22. That is also a sale price that only lasts to the end of the year. Information about that in the description box below. Finally, I'm going to teach a webinar about the Mars rise, the Mars death in Capricorn, and his rise cycle, and how to tie those two together. If you'd like to join that webinar, it's going to be, the sign-up link will be in the description box below. It'll be a much deeper dive into how to harness this energy than I could do here, and we'll be teaching that webinar in the first week of January. So let's get started. I am really excited by this Capricorn reset button. 1993, goodness gracious, that's a long time ago. So we're going to talk about how you can use it. And that would be how you reset your life, December of 93 to December of 1995. By the way, I forgot to say hello. Hi. My name is Lori, Lori Lothian, Western Tropical Zodiac Astrologer, using timing tools from ancient Hellenistic and Babylonian, and even some Vedic astrology tools. We love to use astrology as a way to navigate our life. I do. I don't know about you. So that we're moving in flow, harmony, and ease with the sky. So every now and then we get to something as simple but profound as the Mars cycle. I think I need to write a book on it. I've been doing a lot of research into it. And the Mars cycle is one of the most valuable and predictive tools I have ever come across. And I don't think you're going to hear a lot of modern astrologers address it the way I am doing. Why? They'll say, oh, the sun co-joined Mars today. Big deal. It's a day-long event on the 9th of January. Some astrologers who know about the synodic cycles in more depth will talk about it being a turning point that happens every 2 years. And people who have a more Babylonian perspective, which I partly have, will talk about how Mars dying here will make major changes and that he can then birth into being in Pisces in March. And both of those are 2-year cycles. So we're taking a stance of understanding the sky, not just talking about a day in the life of January 9th, sun conjunct Mars, good for commercial success, ambition connected to power and leadership. Yeah, but it's so much more than that. So just so you know what we're talking about, I just want to show you a resource. I think I've got a ton of ads on it, but let's see if you don't mind the ads, right? Because it's just the simplest way to do it, is share astroseek.com. I'm a teaching astrologer, and you see what I mean by the synodic cycle. You see that roughly every 2 years, Mars will join the sun in a different sign, right? And so back in 1993, at 5 degrees of Capricorn, he joined the sun. But then he had to wait until 1996, March, to join the sun again due to retrogradation. And he ended up joining the sun in the sign of Pisces. All right, so you see the vibe. And then if we go here and we talk about what's happening now, you're going to notice that we can get to 2026 at 19 degrees of Capricorn, and there is a conjunction with the sun. He will not set himself again in this conjunction until 2072. I wrote it down somewhere. Or 46 more years from now. And if you look at what he did last year, he joined the sun in Scorpio, his home kingdom, and he has great dignity. And in 2021, he joined the sun in Libra. And in 2019, Virgo, the sign of health challenges. And what did we have in Virgo, the sign of health challenge with Mars, the emissary of the god Nergal, the god of plagues? We had a plague. It began between September of 2019 and October of 2021 was the COVID pandemic. So you can see what Mars did in a sign to do with health for the world. When in 2021, October to 2023, November, those 2 years were all about Mars in Libra. That was a lot of imbalance in the justice system. There was a lot going on with the Supreme Court and the stacking of the court and a bunch of other justice imbalances. Mars doesn't like being in Libra. He's not good at keeping the peace. And so we also had the onset of what? What happened between October of 21 and November of 2023 was the war in the Middle East. So Mars cannot keep the peace or the balance. In fact, everything is radically disproportionate and asymmetrical, as was that Middle East conflict, which is still ongoing. And finally, from November of 2023 to January of 2026, we're under the spell of Mars resetting in Scorpio. What is Scorpio? Conspiracy theories, 3-letter agencies, nefarious, secret, and whistleblowing energy. How many whistleblowers have we had going on, whether it's the UFO thing or the AI guy, or now whistleblowers regarding the Kirk assassination? And plots and conspiracies abound as Mars reset his button for the world in the sign of Scorpio. And he will do it now in the sign of Capricorn. And that's coming up for a 2-year story. So it's not just a one and done, right? It doesn't close out until March of 2028, March of 2028, when he joins in his war sign of Aries. Oh my gosh, gonna be a story, guys. So when we talk about change, often we talk about Uranus. Modern astrology says, oh, Uranus brings unexpected change. But in the ancient tradition, there was one god of change. Change was Mars's wheelhouse. We would say that he would help you change direction, right? Go in a new direction. And how do we make a direction happen? We make a decision. We take an action, we base it on a decision. Actions and decisions are intertwined. Mars bisects, dissects, decides. Mars halves things, you know? He halves things. So you can't go 2 directions at once. You got to take one road or the other, right? And Mars is the one who bifurcates that, makes, okay, we're going this way. If we talk about this being a multiverse, which I think it is, and we're completely splitting timelines in a multiverse, and there's parallel universes being formed on the daily, then Mars is the guy who splits the lines, the timelines. You know, people always say, oh, we're in another timeline. And we are actually. I broke a vase the other day. I really love that vase. The whole thing crashed to the ground, shattered to 1,000 pieces. That vase is a timeline splitter. I always shatter the vessels whenever I literally am changing timelines. So I don't know which timeline I'm now, but I'm feeling very, very concerned about earthquake risk for a mega quake on the Cascadia Fault. Talked about it in Substack, but talking about it here for a while. I hope I'm wrong. But what can you do? And so Mars is the god of plagues. Why? Because he's the emissary of Nergal, the god of plagues in Sumerian tradition. He also brings all kinds of hardships. You know what I mean? We go, oh, no, another problem. A conflict, a war, an aggression, a plague, a battle. He's in Capricorn when he resets himself, and that's called the sign of his exaltation. I don't know if you guys remember in Canada during the pandemic, we had a truckers convoy, and for the 6 weeks that Mars was going through Capricorn, right? Exalted in the sign that belongs to Saturn, and Saturn represents the labor force and the common laborer. And the common labor truckers were on a massive strike in our capital city. So there was something about that whole Mars rules what you drive, get on the road, go somewhere. And there was this whole idea of a complete intensity around the truckers' convoy and what fell out of that and what happened after. So Mars is involved in all kinds of things, not always bad. And I'm bringing this up because in the sign of Capricorn, it is a sign often associated with banking and resources. Now, yes, Taurus is as well. Yes, it is. But that's more like Venus's wheelhouse for currencies, right? We talk about Capricorn, we're thinking Warren Buffett. We're thinking of institutional wealth. We're thinking of, in the United States, the coffers of the United States. How much money does it have, or how much debt does it have? Like how much does it have in tangible assets? And that's the second house of USA as a Sag rising. And Mars is resetting in that part of the sky. Quite possibly it's going to be a new form, the US dollar, mutating into something new, into some kind of new standard instead of the dollar standard. We'll see. Where Mars dies in the heart of the sun, and that's what he's doing. He's dying in the heart of the sun. He's old. He spent 2 years going from Scorpio all the way around to Capricorn. It took him 2 years because he had a long retrograde in Cancer and Leo last year. This is a time, therefore, right, as an old, weary, battle-weary Mars is getting ready to die in Capricorn, that he's invisible. So he's invisible as we go into the month of December. We're not able to see him. Let me show you that in a minute. So invisible Mars, I've been reflecting to myself whether an invisible Mars is good or bad. Is it like war doesn't happen, or, bad things like shooters and unalivings, and these are Mars and homicidal things, and that's Mars, and unaliving oneself is Mars stuff as well. Is it possible that when Mars is invisible that those things are not happening, or is it possible that they happen in ways that blindside us and we just didn't see it coming? Or when Mars is invisible, because he won't be visible till March, so as we go into December he's invisible. As we go into January, February, into mid-March, he's invisible. Or do we get false flag operations and stuff like that to get buy-in and consensus from the citizenry that we need to go to war, manufacture consensus, if you know what I mean? So we'll see what happens when he's invisible. He's cloaked from our view. It'll be an interesting time, but that doesn't change the meaning of his reset button. So let's bring it up. So Mars will enter Capricorn, the sign of Saturn. Saturn owns Capricorn. He will enter on the 15th of December. And as he enters the sign of Capricorn up here, this happens to be an Aries rising chart, he's going to spend 6 weeks here until around January the 23rd. So from December 15th to January 23rd, there is Mars invisible in Capricorn. And then January 23rd, at 6 weeks, he'll be invisible in Aquarius, right? And then by mid-March, he's rising to visibility in the morning sky, and we'll see him again. So I kind of would say to you that you probably are going to find that things that require a lot of Martian energy aren't going to go well. It's not good for surgeries because surgeons, scalpels, cutting, severing belong to dividing the skin, belong to Mars. And, invisible Mars might mean the surgeon's sick, doesn't show up at the surgery thing, or something hidden can go wrong. I always joke about like left a sponge in there, I would stay away from surgery that's not needed. I would not cancel essential surgery to protect your health. But I would say that it may be a little more complicated to go for surgical procedures, cosmetic or medical at all, any of those, when Mars is invisible. Second of all, when Mars is traveling through Capricorn through till January the 23rd at the top of our sky here, he is exalted. So forget about his invisibility. Where we see Capricorn people, places, and things in the world, we see intensity. For example, the nation of Israel has Capricorn 4th house. That means it's property and land that it calls its own, which continually keeps expanding. And therefore, Mars is a god of aggression, cutting, dividing, severing, and combat. I'm not sure how this will play out with him invisible. They'll steal land, more and more stealing of land by settlers. I don't know, but we'll just have to say that something's going on to do with Mars resetting a button in the bottom of the sky. As it pertains to Israel. This is the 4th house for Israel, Capricorn. You know that Mars, when he was dying in the heart of the sun in 2021 to 2023, past the beginning of the October 7th start date of that war, it was about Libra, and that is the sign that belonged to the ascendant of Israel, and it catapulted a Middle Eastern conflagration. At this point, Israel has been on warfront footage with 7 of its neighbors. It is not just Israel and Gaza. It is Israel and everyone around it. Since Mars died in the heart of the sun on the ascendant of Israel in 2021, and by October 18th of 2023, that incited multiple war fronts now, or the beginning of multiple war fronts. I do not expect Mars to be as negative here because he's in his exaltation and he's ruled by Saturn. So maybe something good could happen. But I will say to you, and I'll talk about Saturn in a minute, in Pisces, the sign of the underprivileged, the underserved, the refugees, the homeless, the outcasts, the, what do you call it? The transients. Yeah, the ones in need. Pisces here, it's also like anything to do with sea and water areas. So things like canals, like the Suez Canal or the planned Ben Gurion Canal, or things to do with, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean, the Straits of Hormuz, Mars. Okay. So Saturn rules that Mars, and he's in that kind of Piscean water, the oceans and stuff. I don't know, but I'm worried about a earthquake and a tsunami from the Uranus story right now. And Mars is in Earth, and Shiat, the star of water disasters, is being highly activated by Neptune, although it is a sextile. So who knows? Now, but I want to mention one more thing. If you go back to 1947, January to January of 1949, the 2 years that started up in Capricorn as Mars was rebirthing, dying and being born again there. Those 2 years involved the formation of the state of Israel, right? And the Nakba, and the displacement of peoples, and the taking of their villages, and the destruction of lives. And it was a massacre. So bottom line, the Nakba of January 47 to 49 recapitulates with this kind of Capricorn reset button that will happen on January 9th at 2 years. Second of all, on January of 1979 to January of 1981, we also saw Mars reset in Capricorn. So if we look at stories that were happening in the nation of IL down back in the day, when you look at political stories from 1979 to 1981, you find some historic events occurred. One of them was the signing of the Egypt-Israel peace treaty, signed in 1979, leading to the Sinai withdrawal. Escalating tensions with Palestinian groups also occurred, and they also asserted control over the occupied territories of the Golan Heights, which they annexed in 1981, alongside significant military actions, most notably the Osirak reactor strike in Iran in 1981 under Menachem Begin's Likud government. I guess, the idea is it just seems like more of the same, but with the peace deal with Egypt, that could be a positive omen that followed the 1978 Camp David Accords. Golan Heights was annexed in 1981. And this window of time, like January of 79 to January of 81, may have been preceding the annexation of the Golan Heights. They did destroy a nuclear reactor in 1981 in Operation Opera that existed in Iraq. And the internal politics were rough as the right-wing Likud government, led by Menachem Begin, remained in power after the 1981 elections, but that may have been outside the bounds of this time. So I don't have time to do all the research I'd like to do today. And in my webinar, I will go into much more detail with that. So there may be some positive sides to do with land. But if you think about Mars, who was aggression and attack energy and annexing, say, the Golan Heights, and that's examples of land grabbing that Mars might have done, not only in 1947 to 1949, but 1979 to 1981. But when was there a time when Israel's not grabbing land from its neighbors? So there is that. I know you can unsubscribe. My eyes are wide open. You don't have to like it. I'm just talking about what's happened in the past when Mars is in Capricorn in Israel's 4th house. Now, We're going to talk about the rising on another video, but know that Mars will rise in March on St. Paddy's Day, giving you a 2-year window, March to March, add 2 years of success and a rise of power in your Pisces sky. For an Aquarius rising, it's in my money house. So I'm not too shabby, but also changes in the way I make my money. And so you last had a Mars rising in Pisces in April of 2011 that lasted till the spring of 2013, and April of 1979 that lasted until 1981, April to April kind of thing. If you want to go back and compare now, today's video is very simple. Today we're covering the energy of your sign and what you can expect as the energy of this reset button, with a reminder for everyone. If you're old enough, go back and compare notes of, January 79 to January of 1981, or December of 1993 to December of 1994. It's really the end of December. So you may as well just say all of 94 and all of 95. What were you up to? Because it will have similarities about what's to come on January the 9th at 19 degrees of Capricorn when he resets that button, and add 2 years. Now, let's go ahead and start with Aries as always. And this is not a long video. I will be drawing a very quick draw from the Animal Oracle deck by Kim Krans. I'm only going to read the keywords for how you might operate from this reset button in the 2 years that follow, and how you might be best served using this energy. I will be doing another video on this topic as I get closer to January, and I will be adding the minor asteroids. So if you want to like and subscribe, please do, because the video I'll be putting out in January about this is going to have some other layers I won't cover here. This is a very simple version. And I'm also going to talk about the aspects that activate the conjunction. And I'm also going to be doing that webinar in the first week of January that give you a much bigger perspective and some tools to use with this energy. So all of that to say, this is a preview video. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a story where you're going to have a fresh start in your 10th house of career, reputation, visible actions in the world. Mars cuts, ends, and severs. He's dying here. To make it simple, some part of your career is dying. All right, changing, dramatically changing. Now, it's not always a bad thing. Take a deep breath, right? Don't sweat it. In November of 2023, Mars died in the house of taxes. Did it kill you, or you're still standing, right? Finances, banking, mortgages, loans, secrets, erotic sexuality. He died there. And like for me, as an example, just because I can give me as an example, right? I basically ended up with the condition of a new tax structure I incorporated. And then Mars rose. He rose into Capricorn right here. And rising gives him strength. It gives him vibrancy. It gives him fresh beginnings. So as I mentioned for the nation of Israel, that would be their 4th house. And they were occupying and taking over a lot of new land, especially with the settlers in the West Bank, but also going to war with neighbors to acquire land, like in Syria. You might consider in your own life that you look back and you think to yourself, wow, I didn't do too bad. I was rocking it in my career. I was passionate, driven, focused, maybe a workaholic, and I was going for it. I had direction, momentum, decisions, and action power in my career space. Did you? I did. And when did Mars rise? January. Mars rose here in January of 2024. And now he's dying here in January of 26, closing that chapter out, but giving you nothing but change up here, because where Mars goes into the heart of the sun and dies, some part of your career ambition is dying. Some part of your reputation is dying. You're going to reset it here. It will not be the same career path the way you've been doing it when you look back at this part of your sky 2 years later, or in other words, in 2028, January. Now, for you, as this button will reset, it will happen at 19 Capricorn. Sure, your Aries sun, your Aries moon are rising. It's pretty well close to the 19th degree. You're going to really feel it. Sun is career, moon is home and body, or home and emotions and mind, and your rising sign is your simulation avatar, everything about your character. So if you have anything at those degrees, right, close to 19, it's going to be very intense. It's going to square you. Like my sun is at 14.5 degrees. So Mars is really tightly squaring my natal career planet, the sun. I could pretty well expect Lori's probably not doing these YouTube videos for you 2 years from now. Something is changing in how I affect my career. Let's go ahead and draw a quick card for you. I don't think I'm gonna, well, we'll see. I could try. I'm not going to read the deck. I'm just going to give you a kind of a quick and dirty, you know? So let's go for it. I'm making a nice rack of lamb for dinner. I'm already hungry. The fire ant, you can't make that up because of course Mars is full of fire, but it's also hot. It's also hot. Okay, stop the share. I just want to see if I can get to you guys without losing the entire back end. So it's a fire ant, guys. So this is kind of the vibe of the 2 years, right? And when we do the January video, we'll have a lot more detail about it. But because we'll be looking at the minor asteroids and the aspects that create the onset of the rebirth. This is a preview video on the concept itself, fire ant. The webinar is going to be affordable, but it's not going to be free. I do a lot of free webinars, but this one I'd be putting a lot of work in. It's going to be educational. Fire ant, but it will be affordable. Fire ant, where are you? This is because Kim Kranz in her animal guidebook, spirit guidebook, doesn't organize things properly. And if I have to say, if she ever does a reissue, please give us a table of contents or something. She has a conceptual organizing mind. Aggression, keywords are aggression, following orders and rigid thinking. So bad, rigid thinking, aggression. Well, sometimes we have to be aggressively changing stuff in our lives. How to be in balance on the 2 years that follow, right? Because if you want to be in balance, you need to be disciplined and you need to be thoughtful. Can you be disciplined in your career changes and thoughtful about it? I think you can. But if you're off your A game, then you're going to find yourself arguing with people with excess heat, Mars rules heat, and gossiping. And being in balance over those 2 years is time for you to do the following items. Wow, I love walking at night and solo time. Now, Capricorn is like the Aquarian, Saturn ruled, and Saturn represents alone time. So alone time can help you navigate some of that changing of direction, changing of your career path, because you will be changing it. All right, there's no doubt about it. Let's go ahead because it's that Mars does do that in the 10th house. Uh-oh. Let's go ahead and let's make this thing work. We need to edit the chart and we need to move it to a whole sign house system. I pinned it to 0, Aries. So I don't know if you guys know about the 7-year cycle, but every 7 years or 7.5 years, we kind of come into a Saturn, either a square opposition or square to our natal Saturn. And that's why we have a 7-year itch in love stories. And I find that every time that Saturn 7-year cycle happens, I need to change my career. It was 7 years ago, I started Lunatic Astrology, right? From 2026. So it started in 2019 as a full-time job. So consider that Lori's changing her direction. All right, we don't want Gemini, we want Taurus. Sorry, Gems. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. Mars, the god of changes in direction and changes of plans and changes of momentum and decision-making and action-taking, is going to reset your button. It's going to happen at 19 degrees of the sign of Capricorn on January 9th, and it's going to open up a door. Okay, look for the door that opens between you and your 9th house. Now, just be clear, and I gave this in the beginning, this has happened before. This reset button, sure, it was at different degrees, but it happened here in December of 93 to 95. Like that window of 2 years was where you made major changes in the 9th house. And if you're old enough, January of 79 to 1981. Most of you might not have any memories of doing anything important then because you would have been much, much too young or not even alive on the planet. So keep that in mind. This is foreign lands and foreign shores, and very possible some of you may have correlations in those 2 years of having moved to another land or another shore or traveled abroad extensively. This is also legal and court battles, and Mars is the legal lawyer going to battle in the court. And that's often associated, just a 6-week transit, with legal issues. where there's some battling over court matters and judges and law. But he's going to be going through here, not just as a 6-week journey till 23rd of January. It says, whoa, look for legal entanglements, legal battles, legal challenges, maybe legal success. He's exalted. And if you've been dealing with legal things and you have to tidy up lawsuits or legal loose ends, I think you might be coming out on top. And especially with Saturn, Lord of Mars, in the house of windfalls and great gains and cosmic and karmic rewards. So legal battle should go your way. And some of you might pursue education and decide to go back to school. And if you do, you will do very well. And according to the chart, you'll learn something that's going to be very profitable. So going back to school in those 2 years can increase your success in your profits from your career. So it's very good for professional re-education, educational shifts as well. You could change your religion and spiritual belief if you have one, and Mars will have you redirect that. And so then we're going to go ahead and just simply say that, well, Mars is here just for the 6 weeks. You might be very motivated around ninth house matters that I've already mentioned to you, but understand that he is invisible, as I mentioned in the intro. So don't look for any clear new directions around travel, distant shores and lands, legal and court wins or battles, or even education until at least we get them into the visible sky, March onward, add 2 years. Now we're going to draw a card from Kim Kranz, the animal spirit. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. We have an elk. What a noble creature. Isn't that beautiful? I don't know. Just makes me feel good to look at that elk. And so I don't know what it means, but it feels positive. Elk, you are coming up for a read for the public here. Okay, how are you going to respond to this? Because when Mars is rising in his exaltation in your ninth house, he's trining you. The flow between Taurus and Capricorn is an applying trine, which means it's full of luck, opportunity, growth, and expansion. Trines are very positive. You like the vibe. The closer your sun, moon, and rising is to 19 degrees, the more strongly you feel it. You will be stable, resilient, and headstrong. And this represents father energy. To get down with this energy and really work with it over 2 years, as Mars is giving you the opportunity to do, you can be very balanced when you are kind, you are consistent, and you are supportive. And when you're out of balance in those 2 years, you might be high and mighty and pretentious. And to keep yourself working with the flow, you want to eat and drink more consciously. Okay, Mars is going to get you to cut out some of the things you shouldn't be imbibing. Not too bad. Conscious eating and drinking. Why the heck not? I don't know. Sometimes I see my chart and sometimes I don't. Hey, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. Isn't this so cool? I mean, not seen since 1993, December, end of December to 1995, end of December, and before that 79 January to 81 January, we had Mars resetting himself, dying in the sun's heart in Capricorn. Well, Capricorn is chunky money for you. It's that kind of money that you share with a spouse, get through an inheritance, get from your in-laws, money that comes from other people, money that can come in a chunk like a commission check or a assurance payout, etc. It's financial institutions, banks, mortgages, lending institutions are here as well. To some degree, investments as well, like money making money. So you're going to have an exalted reset button here. I don't know how old you are. Can you go back to 93 to 95 and look at money stories? Like I have a progressed Gemini sun, but it wasn't in Gemini that long ago. So I can't use that as an example for me to give to you. But I would tell you that something wants to reboot and restart and refresh on the screen of money that you are entitled to, that you don't have to slave for. And I sometimes see that the 8th house is a retirement house. 8 out of 10 times people in an 8th house age will retire from a long marriage and goodbye, honey, 40 years is enough. Or then we can retire from a job or career path. And so with Mars cutting, severing, and ending, is a good chance that some of you older Geminis will retire out of some career direction. You could also be going through a divorce with settlements and, pursing and separating the spousal assets in a divorce in the next 2 years. Sorry, that's one of the things that Mars says there. And so that's 2 stories you may not want, but Mars is bringing you what you need, not what you want, because he's ruled by Saturn in the career and reputation and weddings house. Again, everything I said is true. Some of you could go through completions, endings, changes in those marriages and job situations of great importance to you. Otherwise, an exalted Mars here in Capricorn might not be too shabby for working on investments in the stock markets. Okay, I can see you doing that, but being careful for blue chip and dividends, okay, and value stocks. Holy man, it's hot in here. Why value stocks? I'm in my sweats. Why? It's hot. Why value stocks? Because this is Capricorn. You're better off not taking a risk, Gemini. Get your blue chips under your belt. Look for buying opportunities. There will be them in 2026, and puts your money into safety havens in investment structures. And that's what I've got for you. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw a card and we're going to see what we get. I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to see if I can just keep the darn screen there. Like, why isn't it staying? You guys, I don't even get my software is all over the place. And the card for you is the wolf. The wolf. What about the wolf? All right. Well, first of all, the wolf is about the same category as the elf, by the way, in this book. Now I'm hearing a song, hungry like a wolf. All right, guardian of family and tribe, ritual and activism. If you're in balance in the 2 years that follows this cosmic reset in 19 degrees of Capricorn on January 9th, you are going to be reliable, democratic, and fearless. Reliable, democratic, and fearless. And you will be out of balance if you are dominating and judgmental of other people. And if you want to bring yourself into balance during the entire 2 years, practice the art of letting go. Well, you'll have to let go there of that job or that career, or that marriage. I mean, there's some serious 8th house surrender. It's like a death and rebirth of yourself. And something about that does always demand that we let go. Now, when I do this video for the real deeper dive and the webinar, we're going to talk about the houses that Mars rules in your chart. I don't have time for that one today. It's a preview, but he does rule your house of work. And I see a lot of you are likely to take a break or quit your job or shift your work in a very significant way, like as if you're retiring from one line of work or profession to move into something new. Like, you know what I mean, guys? Sometimes I can do this and I don't have to like continually adjust my screen. And sometimes it doesn't let me do it. All right. How about you, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising? I guess you could go back to 1993 to 1995, December to December, or January of 79 to January of 81 to vibe out with a reset button in Capricorn. Capricorn is a part of your sky that is your marriage house. And I'm not sure, but some of you could have gone through some fresh starts and new beginnings in long-term committed love relationships. You might have met somebody, started seeing somebody, began to date somebody. Those are common themes that could occur under that, like long-term committed dating. But Mars cuts, ends, and severs as well. And you might have had turbulence, Cancer, in your relationships, right? It might have gone through a rocky time. You could have had a near divorce. Some of you may divorced or separated from your partner. And even here, Mars could also have caused a partner in the past to pass away. So those are vibes that you might have already lived through and no longer, or have, but you got to do it again. So it's back. Now, you might go into confrontation with other people, especially legal conflict when Mars is like in this kind of aggressive angle at you. He does rule the house of children, and you might have had some difficulties with your children at the times I've mentioned in the past. They could have gone through difficulties. You were trying to help them through those difficulties, right? So really all of 94 and all of 95 is the most recent example. If you are looking for partners, like business partners, Mars moving through your 7th house is ideal. You could come into contact with new people who have determination, willpower, and strength, and can go the marathon distance because it is, Capricorn, and really find those people coming in your life to be of great assistance. And it's ruled by Saturn, this particular Mars ingress, Saturn in the end of Pisces. And so it's possible that you might find yourself also being able to, if you're single, find a new relationship with someone from a far off land and distant shore from your birthplace. And it would be a relationship that was trying to be stable and lasting and enduring. Otherwise, you might also be able to connect this dot to an educational opportunity in a higher educational setting or book publishing success as well. And Mars, ruled by Saturn, would try to bring worldly success through those venues of education, book publishing, or love from a foreigner or foreign place or foreign land person. They could be traveling in your own country, right? Or living in your own country, but they're from another country, have a different language, different religion. Love with a foreigner, right? Very sexy, hot, passionate, maybe, but stable and lasting with Mars's Capricorn signature. Okay, one more thing. Sometimes Mars likes to cut things, and legal contracts, that's why we said divorce, are of the nature of the seventh house. So there's a strong possibility that you will sever existing legal agreements. That can be any kind of agreement, but also professional agreements, because Mars is the ruler of your professional 10th house. So you might be ending, cutting, and severing professional agreements in the 2 years that follow this reset button story. Ow, now we're going to stop the share. That shoulder impingement. Guys, ay. It's all about low levels of estrogen, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to blame low estrogen. Oh, the black egg, the black egg. Like, this is one of the esoteric cards. She's got cards that are very super mystical, and some of them are completely not mystical. They're very, I mean, this is mystical. This is not an animal, guys. Ain't an animal. You got the black egg. How to handle those 2 years, right? January of 2025, 6 to January 2028. Resets in the marriage house. Divorce, separation. I don't want to scare any one of you, but it could even be widowing, widower, widowinghood. I'm talking to my old people here, I hope. None of you youngins. Lacking. Now, of course, I'm going to get criticism for planting a dark seed, but forewarned can be forearmed. Oh, black egg, black egg, black egg. Okay. Very esoteric. It is speaking from an authentic voice, and it represents the truth. Isn't it funny that Jupiter, the god of truth, capital T, is in your sign as Mars ingresses into this part of the sky December 15th? So we have an inner truth. The black egg waits for us to reconnect to that inner truth that's available at every moment in every situation. It's the epicenter of truth, the birthplace of our voice, and it has to do with the 5th chakra, so the throat chakra. And it talks about the subtle essence of this card is the base of the throat, the hub that governs our speech and expression. Balance of the center is important for all of us, but it's especially essential for writers, editors, musicians, and teachers. So authentic connection to speech and truth, right? Isn't one of the 4 agreements to do with speech? It's like, don't take it personally, something about your word being impeccable, right? So this is being called forth for you in the 2 years that follows. You know, when Mars is in the 7th house for 6 weeks, like for someone like me, trolls are hitting me, right? In my Leo 7th house, I'm Aquarius rising. Out comes the angry, the aggressive, the gnarly folk. So you being more truthful and impeccable with your word and watching your speech, it probably is a good idea. Okay. Wow. Okay. So especially if someone's going to try to lob a lawsuit at you, which is another possibility under that sky. I'm going to go on to the next sign, and I'm going to see if I can at least get halfway that thing organized in the right place. Yeah. Hey guys, it is Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You got a reset button that is all about Capricorn, and that's your work house. Okay, job, work, employment, self-employment as well. I mean, where do you work, at home or what? And sometimes it can involve pets, and sometimes it can involve rental property. Mars cuts, ends, and severs. So let's be really clear. Mars is not a friend of your pet in this condition. So it is possible that some of you with an older pet, because Saturn is a ruler and Saturn rules elders, an elder pet may be passing in your life between December, January 9th of 2026 to 2028, January. but also your work. Now, Mars is in his joy in the 6th house, and he likes to work hard and passionately, and he goes for it with gusto. So there may be a renewed passion or excitement about work that you haven't felt since 1993, December, to 1995, December. So really all of 94, 95. Did you quit your job? Did you passionately pursue a new job? Did you start a new direction in your work? Did you rent a property? Did you lease a home out to some tenant, or did you become a tenant and rent a property? Now, Mars likes to cut and sever, and this is a house of debts, credit card debts, loans, mortgage debts, whatever your debts are. You could cut the debts. You can sever your debts. And with Saturn in the house of banking, loans, mortgages, and finances ruling this Mars, a doubling down on a change of debt structure and a elimination of life debt. So there's something good about that, to say the least. And some of that could also come from property sale or and property purchase energy based on Mars's rulership of your 4th house. So not too bad at all. And if you want to go to school or educate yourself or work in a foreign land or from a foreign company, Mars can activate those things in the 2 years that follow as well. Injury. Mars is the god of accidents, injury, heat, inflammation, rashes, fevers, all of that stuff. However, Capricorn is ruling more like the knees, right? The bony, sinewy, spinally structures of the body, the hard structures, including the knees in Capricorn. So I'm going to warn you, do not overdo your walking or jumping up and down or stair climbing, because this is classic inflammation or injuries to the knees in the 2 years that follow. And that's not the end of the world, I mean, but it could happen. You know what I mean? You could get it fixed, right? Mars rules surgery. You may have surgery that you choose to activate. Don't do it when he's invisible. I talked about this in the beginning. Wait till after March, that you want to do some surgical procedure with the goal of improving your health, okay? So surgical procedures for health improvements, not cosmetics here, health improvements, alrighty? And that's what I got for you on that. Let's draw a card from Kim Cran's Animal Spirit Oracle deck, and it is a dragonfly. Ooh, I love dragonflies. I just find them absolutely enchanting. I remember one of them landed on my finger and it wouldn't leave, and I felt like so blessed one time. It was during a time of great change and difficulty, and this was like a cosmic moment of beauty and peace. All right, the dragonfly. Mine was a red dragonfly that landed on my hand back in the day. That happened in 2018, I think. Dragonfly, master of light, illusion, and the mind. So how to navigate this 6th house Mars story in the 2 years that follows. So all of 94, 95 it happened, and we're having it again like all of 26 and all of 27. 2027. When you're in balance, you see clearly and you're joyful and you're magical. Well, that's interesting because Saturn is in the house of the metaphysics and the supernatural and the spiritual occult mysteries. So keep the magical in mind. If you're out of balance in those 2 years, you can't concentrate and your mind will be way too busy. And to bring yourself into balance, you need to focus on the breath. Okay, use a little breathing exercises there. I didn't sleep well last night and I'm still plowing away. I know there's a bunch of minor asteroids in the chart. Please ignore them. Those were for a client's chart and I forgot to remove them. Now we're going to go on to the Virgo sun, moon, and rising sign. Hey, Virgos, what do you got to say about the day here? I want you to know that you are going to like the idea of Mars's death and rebirth. Why? Because it trines your sign. And here is Mars, and he's looked back at his shoulder at you, and you have flow vibes between you and Mars. Mars is going to be ending, cutting, severing, releasing in your 5th house. Your 5th house is the house of your children. And it's the house of your sexual and romantic love stories. It's a house of entrepreneurial stuff. It's a house of athletics and sports, and it's a house of your natural talents and gifts. Mars can have you ambitiously pursue a successful entrepreneurial path. That would be a yes. However, be careful for pregnancy here because Mars rules miscarriages and abortions. And unfortunately, this looks like that if you're trying to get a baby off the ground, you may not be successful in those 2 years, and or you may not want to keep that baby. He's ruled by Saturn in the house of significant long-term love relationship partners, and maybe there's a thing there where it's not the best time to try to conceive. It could also lead you to a very successful entrepreneurial business that you have a real handle on your client's audience, marketplace, and outreach. But he cuts, ends, and severs. And if you already have an entrepreneurial self-starter business and you are your own boss, he's telling us you're quitting, changing, ending, severing that for something different and something new. Now, single Virgos in the 2 years that this happens, and don't forget, you go back in time to see how did these themes play out, you know, all of 94 and 1995, or all of 79 and 1980, kind of that's when these were activated last. But I kind of think that you might also think about this as, okay, I've been doing this gig. I've had this sort of side hustle or entrepreneurial or creative artistic direction in my business work for a long time. And it's time to make a change of direction, no longer wanting to do that. And you might be doing that in harmony or concert with a marriage partner or a significant relationship partner as well. Now, I was encouraging you perhaps to be careful around getting pregnant at this time. All right, so I'm going to continue with that. However, there's always a possibility that this just means there's a pregnancy or a birth connected to a significant marriage partner, and it's their story, not yours. So you're the guy, right? And the woman would be getting pregnant, and maybe that's not so much about ending the, you know, the conception. You are going to be, if you're single, looking for new love stories, meeting somebody that is just going to bring a lot of sexual energy into your life, a lot of passion, a lot of vim, a lot of, yeah, this is really sexy. But it also can be very committed and lasting as well as sexy and hot and exciting. Children moving out of the home, if you're an older person, moving away, severing, cutting your ties with a child, right? Sometimes they're just going to move out. Maybe you're moving away from where they live. So there's less contact, a cutting or a cord cutting, an apron string with an adult child or an older child as a possibility. Let's go ahead and draw a card and get more into it in a minute. Yeah, I would encourage you to think about that transit. Mars is an athlete in a house of athleticism, that some of you might take up a new athletic endeavor. And with Saturn ruling it, it would be traditional, right? It wouldn't be pickleball. That's kind of brand new, but you might take up a new sport or athletic endeavor that has like lots of traditional legs. And with Saturn ruling it in watery Pisces, anything to do with water and health, like water sports, but also anything to do with flowing movement, like Tai Chi or Qigong or karate or martial arts. I mentioned my daughter, Virgo rising, would be such a kick-ass martial artist, and her dad was a martial artist. All right, Crocodile is your card for how to handle the energy as you navigate through the 2 years that are going to follow as a reset of direction, choices, changes, and actions in your 5th house. Oh, I hear some of you asking me, will this break my relationship with my partner up? No, Saturn's stabilizing your partnership right now. So no, but for new relationships, it can bring a lot of passion, a lot of excitement. And if the passion and excitement and sexual energy is dying out in your long-term love story, because you've been together too long, it could renew the passion, you know? So when you're doing your vibe, Crocodile is resting. He's submerging. He's cooling off and collecting energy. So to be in balance over these 2 years of 26, 27, you are going to have to be wise and patient, be a silent powerhouse. When you're out of balance, you will be lashing out at others, maybe your significant other, where Saturn is making them grumpy and old, and you might feel stuck, you know? So how do you stay in balance in those 2 years? You are going to rest, and you're going to do a Makarasana pose, Makarasana, M-A-K-A, Makarasana yoga pose. Well, guys, I have no idea what that is. What is the Makarasana? In the comments, you want to know, Google it for your own edification. Some yoga pose. She could have explained that one. Maybe it's the fish pose. I just don't know. I need to get back to my yoga. I need to get my hips straightened out. Libra, go for it. You've got this amazing reset button. Capricorn, new starts, changes. It's where you live. It's where you live. It's your home, your domicile. Quite possibly if you live with people, of course, Mars will separate you, a change of home, separating from the people you currently live with. But it just means an exalted change of home, right? In the 2 years that happened, 26 and 27. And a rising, of course, in March in the house of rental. So it's kind of a foregone conclusion for my daughter's Libra boyfriend. They live together, that they've already made a decision to move, and it's going to actually happen in March. It's already in place. Some of you already know it's going to happen, but over 2 whole years, all through 26 and 27, exalted moves are likely. Some of them will be rentals. Now, Mars down here also can end up looking like an ending or a severing or a cutting of a connection to a family of origin member. By that, I mean a parent, a grandparent, someone up your family lineage. And it's possible with Saturn, the elder in the house of sickness, that it would be an elder, like an elder grandparent, might be getting ready to leave the planet. And this could lead to not only a cutting from that person in your family line, but potentially quite the significant financial inheritance, because you have Mars cutting there, but he also is going to be able to witness in the house of inheritances, Uranus on the star Algol, which can bring significant and surprisingly large amounts of inheritance money to you anytime throughout 26 and 2027. Call it like I see it. And you also, because Mars rules a house of money, right? Changes of home or inheritance money are going to be also attended by or connected to changes of income. And in this regard, some of you may change your work and therefore move, right? A new company, a new job, a new location. So some of these relocation energies may be connected specifically to job changes for some of you as well. And you could get a home office, you could work from home, and you could get more physically active and exercise close to your home. It doesn't have to be in your home, but like the gym is in the building below, it's like your athleticism and your working out energy is close to home. Finally, building a home. Some of you renovate, build. Saturn represents the employer, employing the laborers, the hammer guys, and in the 6th house of employing servants, but this would be building servants. So some of you may choose to build a home or significantly gut or renovate a property in these 2 years that follow, and do it successfully. Remember, this is just like whatever might have happened in like basically all of 94, 95, or all of 1980, 81. You've been through this reset before. Of course, planets are in different places. The flavors are different, but some of it is the same energy. So if you go back in time, you can compare notes. Tiger, whoa, I like a tiger energy because it is Mars, right? And it's got a little spice and fire there. Now, where is tiger? Elephant, zebra, tiger. In balance for those 2 years, you are a lunar force, you are at ease in the darkness, and you have an operating system that is feminine energy. That would be intuitive, flowing, emotionally intelligent, and cooperative. When you're in balance, you are passionate, strong, and sensual during the course of the 2 years that follows this story. And when you are out of balance, you might be overstimulated. So to bring yourself into balance, you need to candle gaze. That's when you light a candle, stare at it, and just empty your mind. Very meditative practice. I have a fireplace that I look at, and I just totally lose myself in the flames. I mean, I'm like, I don't even think. I just have such stillness when I'm gazing at fire. Of course, I am an Aries, so that makes sense. I hope I'm sharing. Yeah. And we move into Scorpio. Well, Mars, like Aries and you, are ruled by Mars. So you really run on these cycles of his death and rebirth in the sun's heart every 2 years. So where Capricorn is for you is the neighbors, the neighborhood, the local community, and your daily activities and routines, as well as 3rd house people, siblings, especially younger, also connections to aunts, uncles, cousins, and also connections to marketing, selling, communicating, and writing. Now, Mars is going to amp it up, right? He's going to give you a new beginning and a fresh start, but he's also intense and he's also capable of severing, cutting, and ending. One of the classic ways this probably is going to work for quite a few of you is a change of domicile, a new home in a different city or neighborhood. Like it won't be a move to another country. It'll be a move to another area of your country or your city or your environment. So a exalted change of neighborhood, which is a good change of neighborhood. And with Saturn in the 5th house, maybe because of your children, because you're going to have children, because of a romantic love partnership. Maybe an exalted success, by the way, could happen in marketing, selling, writing, communicating endeavors, like where you're going to kill it. And you're going to do really, really well, especially if that is artistic, creative, or entrepreneurial, says Lord Saturn. Mars in the 3rd house can be conflict with or separation from aunts, uncles, cousins, but most importantly, siblings. Now, it doesn't have to be because there's hard feelings, because maybe you're going to move far away from those people that I just mentioned, or they're moving far away from you, and there just may be a separation by distance physically. And finally, sometimes Mars is commuting energy here. And you might end up in a position in a work situation, because Mars rules your house of job and work, where you have more distance to cover in order to get to work, you know? So in the next 2 years, you might get a great new job, but because Mars is exalted and gives you 2 years of good marketing, selling, communicating, and traveling, but even commuting. And it could end up looking like a new position and a new work, but you might be doing more commuting, or you're moving your city or neighborhood for the job. Okay, so that you're closer to work, or because the company's at another location from where you currently are residing. All right. Worst case scenario, you have cut off, you disenfranchise or end a sibling relationship. You get mad at them, you have a fight, you know, and you don't talk to them anymore. That's a possibility for some of you, but not probably many of you. Okay, so what we're going to do is draw a card from the Animal Oracle deck by Kim Kranz called Animal Spirit, and we have the eagle. You're the second one to get the eagle. Obviously, Mars has a fondness for eagles, and it is going to be how you're handling the vibration of the next 2 years. Now go back to 93, well, actually go back to 94, 95, 1979, 78, 79, 80. Those 2 years, calendar years, were times where you were living through the same part of the sky. Now, a lot of you are really, really, really young. For instance, my son was born in 1989, so he was 4 years old. He moved neighborhoods. We moved from Washington, D.C. to Annapolis, Maryland, 45 minutes away. So you see what I mean? Even for a 4-year-old, this thing made sense. Okay, so it does work. Eagle. And he was much happier in the new location and the better school, and it worked out so well. Eagle, you're flying through the sky, so you're with the animals that are in the air. I know. Crow, owl, nightingale, peacock, hawk, eagle. All preparedness. Okay, so your eagle energies, you're running eagle energy for 2 years. You are all pervading, truth seeker, powerful, and you transform your karma. Well, not too bad. Don't forget, Mars rising is sextiling your Scorpio sun, moon, and rising. Close to your Scorpio sun, moon, and rising is to 19 degrees. The more you're going to feel the positive influence of this Mars shift of energy. Okay, so in the 2 years that follow, when you're on your A game, you are radiant and bright, and you don't mind challenges. And when you're out of balance, you can be controlling. And to bring yourself into balance, you need to step into the unknown, stepping into the unknown. All righty, why not? One thing about eagle energy, it's got the big picture view, right? So you're seeing where to go. I think some of you might be looking at creating a family off of this and moving your home because you're starting a family, like making babies and stuff, as I'm pretty sure my son will be doing, but I just can see that with that Saturn North Node energy. All right. Oh, I did not sleep as well as I wanted last night. I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm going to go to bed early. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Mars is resetting himself October the 9th for a 2-year reset in your money, earnings, resources, savings and spending, second house. Your financial wellness is dependent on this house, and Mars is exalted. And he's going to try his best to strengthen your money, but he also brings change. And certainly with the South Node in your 10th house, a professional change would be likely, a change of the career, profession, and earnings and job stuff. Right? Not going to do the same old, same old. And you'll see that probably if you went back to 1990, 94, 95, or like 1979, 1980, if you're old enough, there were money changes in your life, changes in how money came to you, new directions in your finances, and for many of you, a change of work, career, and job. So that's back again. And so you might want to compare notes. You might be able to go back and look at how those things played out back in the day. And Mars is also ruled here by Saturn, and changes of home connected to financial or work changes are in the mix. Some of you may be coming into some chunks of money, or you could change your home through divorce settlements and separations, or some inheritance money coming to you that allows for an upgrade in your home and more money on your table or on your accounting and your books, so to speak. And I do think a lot of you Sagittarius will be looking for a new place to live in the 2 years that follow, when Mars will, of course, rise in your 4th house. You might build a home, construct a home, renovate a home, or change your home. And some of you might want to move to another country. And so that's another feature of the North Node in the 4th house. So Mars can also give you the financial means to do that, or he may also help you move to a new place where you can be better equipped financially, save more money. Like, sometimes moving to a less developed country with greater, lower cost of living would be indicative for some of you of an idea of something you might consider. Of course, not every Sag will do that. There's a possibility of some expenses that you're going to have to deal with in the 2 years that follows this reset. And that is, and it could be spousal separation or divorce is one way. It could be expenses, just call it expenses, outlays, expenditures, different, more than you thought you needed to spend. It's all going to work out. So don't freak out when you start to say, oh, after March and Mars is visible, Lori, I started to have all these expenses. This expenses could be connected to changing your home or separating assets in a marital separation. All right. But Mars is exalted, and you're going to come out on the other side of this A-okay. All right. So don't freak out about expenditures, expenses, and what seems like maybe a hole in your wallet at first. I think it won't be, I don't think that's the big picture story here at all. You have a gazelle, that beautiful, delicate creature that's always hypervigilant. Let's talk about gazelle energy. If you're going to be hypervigilant, you're going to be hypervigilant about your money. Then you may also be unnecessarily freaked out. I do not see with Mars ruling your 12th house how there isn't expenses, but I also see the potential of moving to a country where the cost of living is lower, or moving abroad in the 2 years that follows this conjunction. I will find the gazelle. You have a heightened awareness and ability, and you can be vulnerable. Those are good things for you in the 2 years that follow. If you're in balance, you are perceptive, you are graceful, and you are artistic. And out of balance, you have insomnia, a racing mind, and food allergies. Well, that's interesting, because the 2nd house is the house of what you put in your mouth. I should have addressed that. Surgery to your face, your teeth. Major surgeries to teeth and face may come through the next 2 years. And some of that can be cosmetic, right? So, but it's also what you eat, and Mars cuts, severs, and ends. He cuts away, eliminates food. So there's certain kinds of foods and addictions that you have been compelled to pursue orally or through your nose. You're going to stop doing it. The face has got the cutting energy, but also the mouth. So you could, in the nose. So stop inhaling and stop swallowing the things that aren't good for you. Mars will help you do that. It's good for detox, rehab, starting over on those things, cleansing in the 2 years that follow, and good for like any surgical, dermabrasion, laser, sharp objects, on the face to improve your teeth as well. To get yourself in balance, so you don't have that insomnia, food allergies, and racing mind, you want to be doing your yin yoga in a cozy home with good food, cozy home, calm, yin, relaxed yoga. I used to do all kinds of yoga, Bikrams and Iyengar and hot yoga and yeah. And now I don't know, my yoga days and my height of my yoga days might be over, but I was in 2016, 17, 18, before the pandemic in Montreal, I was doing yoga at the University of British Columbia with a bunch of young students in a hot yoga studio called Hot Box Yoga. I loved it. And teachers would say to me, "Oh, God, your practice is so strong." Now my whole fucking screws my shoulder. I can barely move my shoulder. Let's go ahead. Arthritis, ski injury. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising, not my gallbladder. Capricorn, sun, moon, rising people. It's obviously important because you're Capricorn. I should have started with you. And Mars rising in your sign is one thing that happened last year. And we're going to be doing a deeper dive webinar into this. But Mars dying in the heart of the sun in your sign is a whole different matter. I want you to think about how you lived your life in 1994 and 1995 and how you lived your life in 1979 and 1980, because those were those 2-year windows in which the Mars and death and rebirth in your sign was happening. Capricorn sun, death and rebirth in career or difficult challenges in the health of your father or challenges in the life of your father. Capricorn moon, challenges in the life of your mother and or changes in your home and difficult challenges with your emotions. And Capricorn rising, anything in your life could have changed: your home, your marriage, or your job, your career, everything, because the rising sign is like all the circumstantial bits and pieces of life. So your character had a massive reset button in those times if you're rising sign Capricorn. So you can go back and compare notes and see what was going on at that time. Now, those times I mentioned. Now, this is a reset that is also governed by a Mars, bossed around by a Saturn in the 3rd house with a North Node. A change in home, if you're going to change your city, neighborhood, that kind of thing, not likely to a foreign land under this kind of sky, but there's a foreigner element, and Rahu is the foreigner. So I can't completely rule it out, but it could be changing your home connected to a foreigner, but not necessarily to a foreign land. There's a sense that you want to, use this reset button to activate positive developments in communicating, writing, teaching, marketing, and selling, and learning. Some of you may come into a desire to educate yourself and learn a new tool, learn a new skill that you could use in the world to have professional gains and actually make money from a professional path. So there is that educating or re-educating energy in the 2 years that follow, but you're not going off to academia. You're going to learn a skill, a talent, how to change a tire, how to sell a house, real estate license, how to trade stocks in the market. I'm just making shit up. Some of you might be passionately engaged in writing projects. Some of you may be getting down with writing over these 2 years that follow. And, 3rd house rules the hands, right? Hands and arms. So maybe you're going to do a lot more things that Mars would like to do. Mars with hammers, saws, applying yourself with your hands and arms to get a lot done, typing your best selling novel. Okay. Righty. I do want to tell you that Mars can bring you some inflammation in your body. And you might have gone through some health challenges in the past then, right? So if you go back to 94, 95, or 1980, 81, did you have any challenges like injuries to the body, particularly the knees or any of the spinal parts of your body, maybe your teeth, big problems with teeth as well, back in 79, 1980 and 1979, or back in 1994, 95, go back and think about that stuff. There's nothing I can say, because if Mars is going to give you challenges to your health or body, especially for the rising, okay? Secondarily for sun and moon, but all of you could have the experience of that. This is nothing that's going to take you down. Mars is exalted. Health challenges will find solutions is where I'm going. Certainly with Mars here, resetting a button, and also as the ruler of your 4th house, where you've been challenged to find your true home or a place of belonging, or feel at one with being in your home. You've been working on that energy of home and belonging. You've been working on that energy since 2019, and this could be in the 2 years that changes everything. And not to mention Chiron leaves that part of your chart fully in 2027. If you're going to change your home, and it may be for a romantic reason because of the trine to your 5th house, right? And the Jupiter witnessing in the 7th. Some of you may relocate your home connected to love and romance and relationship storylines. And that would be something available to you in the 2 years that follows the 19th degree January 9th cosmic reset button, with Mars not visible until March 17th. I wouldn't suggest, or I wouldn't even anticipate a change of home until he's visible. But after that, yeah, there is very possibly for many of you, a change of home. And you Capricorn moons, because moon represents home, you also in those 2 years, a change of home. The starfish. So the starfish is about the way you can be beautiful, alluring, or superficial or shallow in those 2 years ahead. Wow, it's getting dark there. You can bring yourself into balance with uplifting, artistic, and expressive energy. But if you're out of balance, you are going to be a gossip and feel empty. So get your artistic, expressive, and uplifting energy going. Hey, it is the house of writing, where Saturn rules this Mars, death and rebirth. To bring yourself into balance, you need to have positive friends. Oh, that's interesting. Saturn rules this, and he's in the house of the local community, the people around you, you know, the neighborhood, the people you would have proximate real life contact with. And even friends from childhood can be coming into your life again off of this, or friends from when you were much, much younger, like high school even. All right, we're talking Aquarius. I am one of you, my rising sign. And we're going to talk about a reset button in our 12th house. So let's get us going. This is an enlightenment house, full moksha, liberation from the matrix, Buddhahood, walking on water like Jesus, take your pick. You can go for it here. So you might have some enlightenment coming your way. Why the hell not? And if you're going to get some enlightenment coming your way, Mars is going to remove the obstacles. It's going to cut and sever them. However, this is a house of hidden enemies, and Mars would be a hidden enemy who's a male, doesn't have your back, some gnarly guy. Mostly that's not true for most of you. And you got protection from Jupiter. So I don't think hidden enemies could be that bad. You might want to relocate or travel extensively abroad. So this can take you traveling internationally or to far off lands, or relocating to move there as well. And you might be shocked or surprised that you're going to do that move. You're like, oh my God, I didn't see it coming in the 2 years that follow. You might move to a country other than the one in which you were born. Now, with Mars here as well, you might be experiencing a kind of passion drive and intense reset in money you make from borderless income and digital international revenue. And some of you, it's like, if you already do that, there could be more momentum or more excitement or changes in the way that money comes to you from people from around the world or companies from foreign places, etc. Cutting away addictions is essentially a good thing with this transit as well. So you'll be able to quit and leave behind addictions. If you go back to December of 1993, so let's just make it simple, 1994, 1995, you did this before, right? This is not the first rodeo for you. What were you doing back then? Oh, it's so funny. I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle somewhere back in that time, probably closer to 95, 96, but what were you doing in 1979 and 1980, the whole of the time, right? Now, some of you, FYI, with this transit could also be wanting to move your home. Like just because it's got that shock and awe Uranus down there, it would be, as I said, maybe to a place or for a reason that you never anticipated. Because I did move my home, yes, in 1994, 95, I moved my family with my family to Annapolis, Maryland from Washington, D.C. So there's moving energies that can come through this as well. Saturn is a ruler of that Mars, and Saturn's in the money house. So again, I see lots of changes in your dietary habits and styles, things that you put in your mouth, especially ones that are bad for you addictively, and then, habit formations and breaking them. And then the other thing I can definitely say is that you may be making changes in how you make money. Mars is going to rise in your money house in March. So you're going to do well, but there's something different. There's something new. There's a new way for money to come. And this is especially true for any of you who do international borderless digital, you have Stripe and PayPal and payment processors. Your money can come anywhere in the world towards you. So the kind of like, I'm all alone and I'm in my solitude, right? Mars is there. but he can't just sit around doing nothing. He is Mars. So you'll be passionately pursuing some activities connected to writing, teaching, selling, and marketing, and putting those things together in solitude, right? Because he rules your third house, and it rules your career space as well. So there's just some cursory thoughts. Don't forget, we're going to take a much deeper dive on the second video, the black egg. Okay, speak the truth. Speak truthfully. I'm not going to read it again. I read it already today. It's like when you're in balance, you are aligned with your throat chakra, okay? And truth is coming through from the throat chakra. I find this an interesting card. It makes me think of be impeccable with your word as well from the Four Agreements, because it's Saturn ruling Mars and in the house of the throat, speech, right? So it's about also just the throat chakra. So you're going to make more money by speaking. You're going to be more aligned with telling the truth. You're going to be more on your A game through what comes through this part of your body, okay? That's what I'm getting for you. And the Latin word for vocation is vocare, and it connects to the word voice. And so one's truer vocation may be awakening here for you, and maybe you'll be able to compare that a little bit to, 94, 95 and 79, 80, but you didn't necessarily have Saturn rising here. In fact, you did not. You did in 79, 80. You did have them rising in the earlier version, right? The 79, 80 version in Pisces, but not in the first intermediate one, not in the 1994, 95. So you can't compare it so well to 94, 95, but you can compare it more so to all of 1979 and all of 1980. And finally is Pisces sun, moon, and rising sign in this preview video of Mars in the heart of the sun, resetting himself, and in Capricorn, which is your house of good things, good spirit. It's your relationship to a sibling, one older. It's allies and benefactor, long-range goals and dreams and plans you have for your life, and the way you make money in your career. Wow, I like this for making money. Mars can really ante up intensity, drive, and passion, but a new direction, a new earning strategy. Or you're completely revising, cutting and severing, and rebooting your long-range goals, plans, and dreams for your life. And an exalted Mars here could change the relationship with a younger sibling, an older sibling, one older than you if you have one as well. You might be able to derive financial benefit from a sibling, one older than you as well. And Mars up here, he's definitely going to be changing your friendship circle. So the kinds of crew of people that you call your friends and your social networks will change, and you will lose some friends because Mars will cut away all the friends that are not really the best friends for you and find better ones for you. So change of social community and social circles is indicated. Ruled by Saturn in your sign, you have the realistic, sober-minded approach. Mars will rise in your sign in January, guys. So you're going to really be rising to new directions in life. For your rising signs, it's going to be rising to new directions in anything you want to succeed at. Whereas for you sun signs, it could be career rising in a new career direction, and moon signs rising in where you live. We're going to do a video on the rise coming up in January or February or March. But I do want to mention that when you look at it this way, with Mars in the house of good spirit, it also is windfalls or what feels like pennies from heaven. Mars is not normally the guy to deliver that stuff, but with Jupiter in the house of good fortune, some of you might come into some financial money connected to an elder sibling, connected to career gains in specific. And it feels like to you like you lucked out, right? It doesn't mean it's a real jackpot per se, but it can feel like, oh my God, I'm so lucky. And Mars is also the ruler of your pocketbook, your wallet, your savings, how much money you have. You've been wounded a bit since 2019 on your money front. Mars is turning that around, but he's got a little force behind it. He owned your money house, but he squares it from here. And you might be making some changes in your spiritual philosophy or in things to do with how you create earnings and gains from your career connected to foreign people and lands. Those are some new thoughts I'm seeing as well here for you in the next 2 years. I mean, you want to go back in time, of course, and compare notes to 1994, 95, or also 1979, 1980. Those were when you had this Mars dying and being born again in this part of your chart. It's a little bit more like 79 to 80 because he also rose in your sign for a direct comparison. I know some of you were like in high school or something, so, but you could have had some great successes, you know, in your academics or something. That's what I've got for you. Let's draw a card and see what you get. This is a very accurate technique. I hope you guys will come to my webinar that I'll be teaching in early January. The unicorn, it's not even a real beastie. The unicorn is really a cool card. Okay, you got the unicorn, Pisces. You are just the epicenter of enchantment. Oh, and it's getting so dark in here. Ah, unicorn. Give me a minute. It's a card about enchantment, right? Reconnecting to your higher wisdom or divinity. And that's because Mars rules your house of God, and he's resetting in the house of your long-range goals and plans. So he can wake you up to your curiosity about your higher self and the divine, exploring, contemplating the inexplicable, a deeper dimension to our experience. It's your sixth chakra, the mind's eye. Quest for answers, spiritual answers. All right, that's what I got for you. It's so dark here, it's ridiculous. Thanks for listening. There's no outro today, other than I've been dreaming of tidal waves and shaking beds, the stuff. So the outro would be beware the tidal waves that may be coming, especially in Cascadia Fault in the Pacific coast of Canada and the northern part of the USA, like Oregon, etc. So if there's an outro, I'd say pay attention to your dreams. If you get a signal like you know, to be safer than you normally would be, or to put together like a pack of like a, I don't know, water, a battery charger that runs on solar energy and other things you would need in case there was a disaster anywhere from Oregon, Washington State, Vancouver, Canada, Seattle, yeah, Portland. There is a possibility in my dream that I had that I was getting a phone blaring that there was an earthquake warning, tsunami warning in Vancouver, British Columbia from that public service announcement. Woo, woo, when your phone starts screeching, right? And that's my concern, that that dream is real. And I can see the sky with Algol and Uranus energy and Neptune on Shia for water disaster star. I just see, and Deucalion, the Noah's Ark asteroid, is highly active, and Typhon for typhoons. I think water disaster earthquake stories are still playing out. I'm recording on December the 9th, Tuesday, December the 9th. It comes out on Thursday. I think we're under that potential problem all through the month of December already. So I think I'm going to listen to my own advice and stock up on like preparedness items. Use your own intuition about what you need or don't need. Trust your own self. Thanks for listening, guys. Ciao, ciao. And I'll see you in the next video.